How are you? Good, good to see you. I almost had a heart attack when I said, then I realized, hey, how are you?
Yeah, I guess it's good to be here. I know. Thank you. I got a couple of minutes. All right. So the first thing.
I don't know.
We're here. All right. We'll get I was working.
Are you watching?
That's why
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Hey, Susan, how was your?
Yeah.
So things have changed. That's good. You don't stand.
I walk in, did you? I had to spend the day in my car was
Welcome, everyone. We're delighted to have all of you here in the room and those on video. On behalf of the Williams Bay Women's Civic League, we're delighted to be here and once again this year putting on this interesting voters forum to meet and get to hear from all of the candidates that we have here this evening. So first of all, I'd really like to introduce Roberta Killian, who is going to be our moderator, and I'm going to let her take it over from here. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you, Mary. Good evening, welcome. It's nice to see friendly faces and community members here for this very auspicious occasion. I wanted to say that I do have a timer, because when I read the general guidelines, you're gonna need to listen to what the rules are for this evening. My timer is Joanne Cantner and Mary Newman, so there are two of them. So they want to confuse me, and that's okay, it's easy to do. So I'm going to do something that I've already told two of the candidates. I'm going to move the order of the agenda so that instead of having the village trustees going first and having the school board members, we are going to do the county supervisor position, because out of respect for a higher office, I think it's important. So while it won't show up on the ballot that way, just know for this evening, that was a decision I made. And, okay. So you have time to get anxious as candidates. You have more time, and you can go out to dinner unless they have short introductions. So the The next thing on the agenda is that I am to read to you, but I have to change the order now, so I'm going to read to you instead the general guidelines for this evening. The primary purpose of the forum is educational. The voters will have an opportunity to become aware of the issues and the candidate's background and views. The forum is not a debate. The forum is not a debate. The forum is not a debate. Okay? And it's not a platform for grievances either. If voters wish to express their opinions on current issues, they should contact the representatives individually. But tonight, voters have the opportunity to ask the candidates about their positions on the issues at large. In an effort to be fair to all participants, maintain organization, and complete the forum in a reasonable period of time, the following guidelines and agenda have been developed. Candidates will keep their opening comments and introductory speeches to a maximum of 4 minutes. A timer will be present to inform you when the 4 minutes have expired. And I will also remind you. Candidates will sit on the stage and introduce themselves in the order in which they are listed on the ballot. Trustees are here this evening. Supervisor position for the county are on this side. We had responses from the school board members that are running, and they weren't able to be here this evening, but they sent statements that I shall read in their place. All who wish to speak should raise their hand for recognition by the moderator. And I will call upon you, and if you would please stand as you are able, and if not, just say your name and your address. Very important. Okay. Because we ask that only voting residents of Williams Bay come forward with questions, and that you state your name and address. The audience is asked to refrain from general commentary and ask specific questions to the candidates. So if you haven't formulated a question, I'm going to ask you to sit down and please formulate it in the form of a question, unless you can do it like that on your feet, okay? But that didn't matter. Voters will be allowed 30 seconds to ask one question. If you have a question for only one particular candidate, please state that at the beginning of your question. 20 minutes of questions and answers will be allowed for each position, then a 20-minute time period at the end to ask questions of any candidate. Answers should be kept to 2 minutes per candidate to allow as many questions and answers as possible during the slotted time. The timer will notify the candidate when the 2 minutes have expired. And again, our timer is sitting here. Okay. The timer, okay, in order to be fair, the candidates will alternate the order in which they comment. So when it's time for you to answer a question, you all can comment on it, unless it's specific to you. Does that make sense? Clear? Okay, good. So that all is the housekeeping and the rules for tonight. And I am going to read the introductory speeches from the Williams Bay Board of Education candidates. They had 4-minute speeches, Darla Thiel and Patrick Pyer. So this is from Patrick Pyer. Hello, thank you for taking a few minutes to read about my candidacy for Williams Bay School Board. My family has lived in Williams Bay for 17 years. My wife, Courtney, and I.
Human Services I could go into a lot of details about how these things have played out, but it would take more than 4 minutes. So I just want you to know I'm here to represent you, and I go around handing out my literature, and I put my phone number and email on there so you can tell me what's important to you. Because it's often difficult to have that figured out when you're making decisions about which types of programs are we going to invest in that are not required by law. So feel free to reach out to me anytime, and you can also catch me on social media, God forbid. But anyway, I'm done. I really don't need more than 2 minutes.
Thank you, Representative Laufenberg. And now, Adam Matamilio.
Hi, I'm Adam. I grew up here in Walworth County, attending Williams Bay School District from kindergarten until graduating valedictorian in 2006. I studied nuclear engineering and economics at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where I met my wife. We have been together since 2008. In 2020, I was fortunate enough to move back to Wisconsin with my wife and raise our 2 kids together in my hometown of Williams Bay. My experience in government began in 2022 when I was elected as a trustee to the Village of Williams Bay. As a trustee, I chaired the Building, Zoning, and Ordinance Committee and sat on the Protective Services and Water and Sewer Committees. Additionally, I represented the village on the Barrett Memorial Library Board. Last year, I was elected village president with the endorsement of 5 out of 6 of the trustees I was currently serving with. The only trustee not to endorse me was my opponent for village president. In my role as president, over the course of just 1 year, I have achieved several of my goals. I have increased transparency by implementing a village YouTube channel that both live streams and archives all village meetings. Under my leadership, the village board has funded and established temporary emergency medical services housing so that there will be an ambulance park in the Village of Williams Bay 24/7. Should be up and running by the summer. I have increased communication with the residents by establishing a question and answer format available during public comments at village board meetings. Additionally, I've made my phone number public and take all calls from residents on any issue. Working with the village board, we have begun the process of creating a tourism commission, and that an entity that will both increase the transparency and accountability of room tax dollars spent in the village and ensure that as much of those funds as possible will be put towards infrastructure that benefits residents. At my direction, the Protective Services Committee and the village board as a whole have begun talks with the Williams Bay Volunteer Fire Department with the goal of ensuring its sustainability and strengthening fire protection to the village. In my role as village president, I also chair the planning and commission, gaining great experience in the zoning and land use planning. I also sit on the board for the Geneva Lake Law Enforcement Agency, aka the Boat Police. I represent the Village of Williams Bay along with the municipal leaders of every municipality in Walworth County on the Intergovernmental Cooperation Council, a sort of UN for the municipalities of Walworth County. Last year, I was appointed to represent Walworth County on the Southeastern Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, or SewerPAC, a commission that oversees land and water use for the 7 southeastern counties, including Milwaukee County. I want to work to solve municipal, county, and regional challenges, particularly in lake management. Both Lake Geneva and Lake Como are in District 7, and the cooperation and collaboration of municipal protective services. My opponent has been using this position not to solve problems or effectively govern, but to obstruct and further a greater national agenda. I am bipartisan, and as president, I have campaigned with, supported, and appointed members of both major political parties. For me, my office isn't about some larger agenda or culture war. It's about getting to the best people for the job to work together. My candidate, unfortunately, has used her power to vote on appointments as a litmus test, only supporting those who she knows are on her team. When the sewer PAC position was available last year, she moved to not include a candidate with a PhD in water treatment among the candidates. She also was the only vote against our moderator, Roberta Killian, when she was appointed to the Prairie Lakes Library System Board. Williams Bay deserves better. Town of Geneva deserves better. Town of Lynn deserves better. Village of Williams Bay deserves better. District 7 as a whole deserves better. Walworth County deserves better. That's why you should vote for me, Adam Jaramillo, for County Supervisor, District 7. Thank you.
Thank you both. And now there'll be 20 minutes for you to be able to ask questions of the candidates. running for this position.
Okay. I'm Connie Bluth. And my question is.
Connie,
for-
could you please make sure the mic is on, and it should be.
Thanks.
And state your name and address.
Sure. I'm Connie Bluth, 95 Lackey. So my question is about intergenerational issues for Walworth County. We've got 2,200 child care kids who have nowhere to go. And we have issues for our seniors in our Walworth County. And I'd like to know if you could just give me a quick comment on that issue. Like what have you done for me lately, I guess, is what I'm asking you, because you're already in
Right.
government.
Are you talking about senior citizens that have nowhere to live that need care?
Sure, you could start with that.
Okay, I was hesitant to just automatically put all of our funding into the county nursing home because I was concerned about the people who can't get in the nursing home. As I understand it, there's a large waiting list. So I had concerns about investing another $10 million in a place that doesn't help everyone. To me, it makes more sense to.
But wouldn't it have helped somebody?
That's fine, but I'm concerned about the people it doesn't help also.
So what have you done for that?
It makes more sense. What I did was I tried to get people to think about that when we were talking about it. But I got a bunch of feedback from a bunch of constituents and this is how they want to invest our money for elderly. So I stopped fighting it. Or I should say, I stopped considering that there might be other options, like giving money to the people who need it so that they can more likely get into any nursing home that they need. But I got feedback from people saying we were going to be needing a lot of beds and that we wouldn't want to shut down or necessarily privatize the one we had. So, when you're talking about places for them to live, I did support it. But I also was concerned about the people who aren't covered by it.
And how about childcare? Anything you've done lately for childcare? In Walworth County?
All I can say is that I've watched people struggle with childcare, and I understand that some people have need two incomes in order to make ends meet. And, I haven't done anything to stop it, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think that everyone needs to pay for everyone else's childcare. A lot of people have had to pay for their own childcare. So are you saying you want me to allocate money from other people to pay for other people's childcare?
No, I just wanted to know how you felt about the issue of the lack of solving the problem of where we're putting our children in Walworth County.
I was of the mindset that if they can open a childcare in the empty wing of the
Right.
Nursing home, that could be an option. Not necessarily that we would be funding it for everyone, but maybe they could use the building that's not being used.
Anything you want to add or?
I would just say that for the aging population, Health and Human Services does make up about 20% of the Walworth County budget. Health is not an issue that the village gets to touch on.
Mhm.
So I'm very excited to dive into that and take it very seriously. Children with disabilities education takes up over 9% of the Walworth County budget. That's another issue that I'd like to take on. My role here in the village, all I've really been able to do is to attend school board meetings as regularly as I can, support school in volunteer capacity. I send my kids to the public school and
So I guess in closing, I just want whoever wins to just lean in towards helping to do something to make a difference without just listening to the needs of Walworth County residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you. Yes, there are hands up.
So I'm John Perryman from Williams Bay. I just wanted to ask, I'm a pediatrician, so I wanted to get your opinion on the adequacy of funding for the health department, particularly in light of what's been happening with decreasing vaccination rates and the emergence of vaccine preventable diseases. What you think the appropriate role of the county health department is for that?
I think I answer first, right? The alternate. So as it stands right now, only a little less than 40% of county revenue comes from the tax levies. The other 60% comes from grants and other services. So one way to increase that kind of health thing would be pursuing more grants actively. I will say that philosophically, my opponent has demonstrated that she is opposed to seeking outside sources. Specifically in health, she voted against resolution number 06-04/22, which is a grant for Aging and Disability Resource Center, the No Wrong Door COVID-19 Vaccine Supplemental Funding Grant. This is money that's available to the county to solve real problems that she's just there voting against for some philosophical reason that we shouldn't be taking money from the state or the federal government. We have people here in the county that need it. The money's available, and I would go after even more if we can. That's my answer.
Yeah, so I'm on the opposite end of the continuum with that because I have a son who was injured by vaccinations. He stopped talking to us after his last set of shots. My nephew, when he was 5 months old, developed weeping sores all over his body within days of vaccinations. And I took care of him 3 days a week and watched him suffer. He had to wear socks because he would scratch them, and it just looked like he was, dropped into some toxic waste or something. So this doesn't happen to everyone. Maybe we have something in our genes. We've had detoxygenomic profiles done to show that we don't flush toxins as well, or at least my nephew and my son don't flush toxins as well as some people do. And there are an awful lot of chemicals in the shots that are out there now. And the pharmaceutical companies are no longer responsible for the adverse reactions. So when people want to use funding on shots, and the things I've learned about how the efficacy is questionable, I'm not excited about spending money on vaccinations. I'm sorry, can't get behind it. I'm not against, by the way, anyone getting vaccinated. I just don't want to use debt.
So, hi, I'm Yvonne Miller. I'm at 186 Conference Point in Williams Bay. Yvonne Miller,
Can you state your address again?
186 Conference Point Road.
Thank you.
I just have a question with what you're saying. I work in the healthcare field. I work up at a hospital in Milwaukee. I see what happens when there is lack of vaccinations, and to take a personal view of what happened to you personally and not look at it for the greater good or what for the whole of the community and the county, I think is very short-sighted. I don't really have a question. I just think there needs to be further explanation than this is what happened to me.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Okay. It isn't just me that this happened to. There are statistics out there, and it is not rare that people have died, people have been in wheelchairs, people have developed neurological diseases, people have had a lot of adverse reactions from vaccinations. I'm sorry, it's the truth. So I think people need to decide where they want to take their risks, whether it be with vaccinations or with the diseases.
Do Do you want to respond to that before I call upon?
I can say that I was vaccinated as a child. My kids were both vaccinated, and I think it's a World Health Organization called it one of the modern marvels of science and mathematics. That's my answer.
Thank you. Yes.
My name's Roseanne Mishik. I live at 29 Johnson Terrace, Williams Bay. I just wanted to add to what she had said, and then I think it's wrong that you would hold back funding. I think that whether you do or do not get your children vaccinated or you get vaccinated is a personal thing, but I think that public funding should be allowed to help defray the costs of it for people who do want it. That's all.
Thank you.
I'm Peter Russell, I'm 24 Willow Vista. I think government works best when the county and the local and all the way up the chain work very well together. I'm wondering if you could each comment on what you see as some best practices and ways that we locally here can benefit from a better connection up to Walworth County and vice versa. What things should be happening, and if there's things that you don't think should be happening, that's fine too.
I think I'm first.
Yeah.
Well, this question's almost tailored for me. I did not plan it though. I am village president here in Williams Bay. I do get elected to the county board as a supervisor. I will be able to maintain both roles at the same time. It's not unprecedented. It is within state statutes. From that dual role, I will be able to coordinate and have an ear to the ground of what's going on here, what's going on in the county, where are we duplicating, where are we missing, where are there gaps in our coverage. I also have experience. I think cooperation is the key word, absolutely. I have experience working with multiple municipalities on the Geneva Lake Law Enforcement Agency, the boat police. There was 4, now 3 municipalities that have to work together to solve district-wide problem of policing the lake. And I've encountered issues here in the village that really do need to require more of a county approach or multiple municipality approach. We went out to referendum to cover our EMS, our emergency medical services. We have a cooperation and intergovernmental agreement with the village of Fontana to do that. We are now actively figuring out how we can coordinate with whether it's town of Delvin, village of Fontana, or some other way so that we can work with our village of Williams Bay Fire Department volunteers to get that fire department up to speed and where it needs to be to increase sustainability. And in my role as sewer pack commissioner, that's 7 counties that are working together. Something like 36% of the population of Wisconsin for land and water use. So my whole goal is to be covering the region, the county, the municipality, and being Mr. Representative.
Thank you.
So we do have committees that include people from the various municipalities, like the emergency medical services and Walco ride share, and there are any number of committees where it already happens. I'm happy to suggest it if anyone thinks that we need another committee for another subject. It certainly makes sense that everybody communicate. People do better when there's better communication between the needs of the municipalities and the county.
Thank you. This concludes this portion of the forum. And we'll go on now to hear from our village trustee candidates. They each have 4 minutes to have their opening statement, and then we will have a question and answer period following their introductions. Okay, so we're going to go in order of the ballot. And so we have James D'Alessandro.
Yes. Thank you, and good evening to everybody, and thanks for the Women's Civic League for having us. My name is Jim D'Alessandro. I also went to grade school, high school here. I did go to college. I actually graduated from college, UW Whitewater. I've had been part of a family business for 55 years here in the village. One of the things I've had the benefit of is to see a lot of leadership older than me. A lot of people in this room, their parents, grandparents, I knew them, I saw them. I was always very appreciative of all the things that they did for me as growing up and my family. I always felt an obligation to give it back, sort of like a school. You know, there were 6 of us in our family, and I know when the school paid for all 6 of us, it's our social contracted obligation for us to pay for other people's children, and on and on. And so I've always felt that obligation. I'm running because I feel that the village is worth protecting. And everything I'm gonna say now, if I can get through it all, is really comes from 25, 30 years of master plans and also from surveys that our Williams Bay Business Association has done. So everything I'm gonna be telling you is actually coming from everybody in this community. I'm just reading it back, but I really believe in it because I think it's really done us well so far. People in the community want small town character, quiet neighborhoods. They want us to spend our tax dollars wisely, safeguard our village character. That's a theme that just continues to run through the village of Williams Bay here for decades. Preserve our natural resources. People want leadership that's careful, listens, and actually really puts residents first. We all know about the decisions that faces the Williams Bay, decisions about growth and development, infrastructure, future of our downtown, protecting the quality of our life here. I believe the real question is not whether Williams Bay should move forward. Of course, it should. The real question is what really fits the future of Williams Bay. I think we should strengthen our downtown, our infrastructure, walkability, attractive public spaces. Again, these are all these things that everyone has said for the last 25, 30 years. I'm reading it back to you. Looks like I'm running out of time here. So I think I'll get near the end here. My message is simple. I want to protect the character of this village, respect the taxpayers, preserve our natural resources, support thoughtful resident first improvements. I don't think Williams Bay, we don't need to lose our identity to have a strong future. In fact, our future depends on protecting the very things that makes this village special. You know, it's coming from someone, and I know a lot of you in here have been here for a very, very long time. So I know we all know what we're talking about here. I'm asking for your vote because I will lead with common sense. I will lead and respect all the residents, and I'll work every day like I always have for the village of Williams Bay. One of the things when I was on the board prior, I think I've been longer than all 3 of them here put together. And actually I'm the youngest candidate, so I really represent the future here. I just appreciate, I really want to give everybody a choice here when you go to the ballot box. I appreciated those who voted for me the last time, and I hope I can get back some of those who didn't. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from trustee.
Russell.
Yes. We can switch places if you'd like.
Well, I'll introduce myself on that note. Before I do that, I think in the 80s, there was a politician who said about a candidate running against him, he won't hold his age against him. So my name is Steve Russell. I've been on the board for a few years now. I chair Parks and Lakefront Committee. I'm currently on AZO, Sewer and Water. I've been on Streets and Highway and Protective Services in the past. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in education. I've never used it. I actually was a service technician coming out of college because my wife was an undergrad and went on to get her master's degree. I got hired by the manufacturer in the equipment that I was installing and servicing. And I have been service manager, plant manager, VP manufacturing, VP operations, vice president and president of capital goods manufacturing companies. I worked 17 years for a company in Union Grove, Wisconsin. I commuted for 13 and a half of those years up here until my youngest graduated college, and then I moved up here. So I've lived in Williams Bay now for 9 years. During my working career in Union Grove, Wisconsin, I was responsible for sales, chemical and mechanical engineering, supply chain, customer service, logistics and transportation, and multiple manufacturing facilities throughout the United States and Asia. After retirement, I took a part-time job. I retired at the time COVID hit. And my wife was not used to me being at home, so she asked me to go get a job. So I took a job working for the city of Lake Geneva as what they call harbor master. It's a little different than the Williams Bay harbor master position. You manage the entire lakefront. You work with all the environmental agencies. I gained a great respect for the lake and what you need to do to protect it. And I think that comes through with being chair of Parks and Lakefront. I love living in Williams Bay. I'll talk faster. I think there's three major issues. Public safety, obviously, and I think that focuses the fire department right now. Infrastructure, with the aging infrastructure that exists, and we have to find ways to finance those infrastructure improvements. And I think we really have to take a balanced approach to development. I have voted for some development, and I voted against some development within the community. My focus has been as chair of Parks and Lakefront to make sure I have a balanced budget that the finance chair can work with in balancing the entire budget. So between Lakefront, Parks, and Recreation Department, I try to make sure that expenses are slightly less than what the revenue is generated out of that department. So I believe on focusing on balanced budget. I have negotiated lower costs with a lot of the repair work that goes out on the lakefront. And we just recently negotiated a long-term contract that saves us about $100,000 over the course of the contract. So again, I ran because I live up in Bailey Estates. I felt like that development doesn't really feel connected to the downtown area of Williams Bay. And I really try to bring, the message up to those individuals up that live up in Williams Bay. And I'll stop now. 30 seconds. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Trustee Owens.
Okay, I'm Rob Jones. Thank you, Civic League, for hosting and all of you for being here. 6 years ago, you elected me, and it was somewhat of a rough start because of COVID. The village hall was closed. There were all Zoom meetings. I ran for a couple of reasons. I wanted to use my 40 years of corporate experience in Chicago, Manhattan, and St. Louis as a planning manager for large manufacturing companies. And I had literally thousands of planning and financial meetings with all major box retailers. Plus, I also was very frustrated that nothing had been done on the water and sewer infrastructure. As the chair of the Water and Sewer Committee, I think we have come a long way on water infrastructure. We fixed 4 water towers that had just failed the 5-year inspection, fixed the land reactor, new pumps in the wells, some new water mains, got the water plant out of the flood zone, built water main breaks, and completely updated the water plant. We have come a long way on sewer also. New sewer pipes on Elkhorn Road, sewer relining. Soon we will start Oakwood and Orchard sewer line replacement and start a complicated job from Pier 290 to the fire station, the sewer line replacement. We also have a new Harris Road lift station. This is all good news, but we have a long way to go. On water, we are looking at least at 20 years and at least $25 to $35 million that is needed. On sewer, about 10 years and at least $8 to $10 million that is needed. But I have some good news though. In 2022, we updated the 1992 water impact fees rates, and we now have approximately $275,000 in that account. It will go up with all the new developers going, and will be about a year from now, it's projected to be about $600,000. I have some more good financial news. The Preserve tax increment district will help us out with about $10 million on infrastructure. And this has to go to the planning committee meeting and to the village board yet, but if the old elementary school project goes forward and we set up another TIF district, there will be another $2.8 million. As a trustee, taking self-initiative is important to me. So is it to be realistic, to keep 2 feet on the ground, make common sense decisions, take financial responsibility, keep you informed, be honest about good news and bad news, listen and get input from all of you. Talking about self-initiative, I started the tree enhancement committee. We planted 46 trees with more to come this year. And we hope to keep that going for quite a while. This is about all I can get in like 4 minutes. So thank you for your support and encouragement. And finally, I want to once again, I ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Woods. And now we will hear from trustee Wright.
Thank you, Roberta. I'm Lowell Wright, and a candidate for election for election as a village trustee. Yeah, I'm honored by the trust that Williams Bay residents have placed in me to serve as a trustee for the past 6 years. I seek your vote this April to serve another term. I choose to run and serve again for several reasons. First, I value the opportunity to serve. Trustees do their best to help the village government make decisions that serve the whole community. Toward that end, I currently serve on 3 committees. I'm chair of the Finance and Personnel Committee, members of the Street and Highways and Parks and Lakefront committees. I also serve on the Plan Commission. Second, my experience as a trustee, resident, business professional, and family member equipped me to make a valuable contribution. You know, it's more than what I know. It's the temperament to foster good community decision-making. Finally, I enjoy seeing the results of good government. So all that said, I believe I have the time, energy, skills, and experience to listen and to lead. I want to maintain what we like about the Bay and find affordable solutions to what we might want to change. But at first, a few bullet points about me. I became a widower the last year with the passing of my wife, Ruth. We were married for nearly 45 years. Our 4 children and 8 grandchildren are scattered all across the United States, but importantly, I plan to stay here, despite their best efforts to get me to move to either New Jersey or Texas. I have some insight into the Bay as well. I've lived here full-time for more than 10 years now, but that builds on decades of seasonal residence. Our family has owned the land on which our current house sits for nearly 80 years. All that to say, I have a good sense of what living here means to me, to my family, and to you as residents. And finally, I strive to contribute to our community in ways other than as a trustee. I'm a member of the Delvin Christian Reformed Church and hope my faith is reflected in who I am and how I act. I volunteer at Open Arms Free Clinic and the Senior Medicare Patrol. I'm a member of the Williams Bay Lions Club and serve on the boards of the Walworth County Aging and Disability Resource Center and the Williams Bay Library. The following are some important issues that I think should be addressed by the village board in the near term. First, and has been mentioned by other folks, is that of fire protection. The village deserves that protection. We want that protection, but what we must do is develop and fund a strategy to ensure that we have that fire protection. The current volunteer fire department is challenged to both recruit and maintain the staff that provide this important service. Second issue is that of financial stability. As the chair of the Finance and Personnel Committee, I wrestle with this often. State-imposed levy limits severely constrain village revenues. Meeting our financial obligations relies on near-term budgeting and a long-term financial plan that anticipates revenues and expenses and lays out a disciplined path forward. And finally, new revenue. With the opening of the preserve, the village will realize new room tax and property tax revenue. Much of that room tax revenue must be allocated to projects that improve the attractiveness of the Bay. This won't be advertising and promotion as much as it will be improvements to areas of the village that enhance its attractiveness to residents as well as visitors. Certainly, there will be issues the next 2 years that challenge the balance between growth and traditional attributes the village we've grown to like. My obligation as a trustee is to work with others to provide tangible actions that preserve, protect, and develop in that context. I would be honored by your vote for trustee on April 7th. As you'll notice, as you can see, I'm the 4th one in order here, and my name's at the bottom of the ballot. I hope that you not only notice that, but I hope it could be first in your heart and your first choice when you vote on April 7th. I welcome your input at any time. My cell phone, my contact number, and my contact information is available on the village website. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all of our candidates. And I now will open the floor for questions. We have 20 minutes where you can ask the board of any of the trustees or candidates what you wish. Please remember to state your name and address. Very important. Yes.
That's right. My name is Stephanie Morrison and I live at 82 Highland Street. So the last year we saw the issue with the water, and it still seems like there is an issue with the water. I smell chlorine every time I turn on my tap water. I drink the water. My daughter drinks the water. My dogs drink the water. What is each candidate's position on resolving this water issue? And I know there's only one that's in charge of the water, but thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll start with that. One of the things is, last summer when this occurred, and I was a little surprised by it a little bit, but the village publicly acknowledged that the DNR identified ammonia-related concern in 21. The DNR sent Williams Bay Waterworks a letter on June 30th of 21 modifying corrosion control requirements and directing the village to do a study. The village engineer recommended additional chlorine injection to convert ammonia to nitrogen gas within a water plant, and that related upgrade project was still projected to be fully in service in 2025. That matters because the later public explanations that were given by the board here for the 2025 crisis tied the nitrate problem to ammonia in the system and nitrification. And so the way I look at it is, I think the village did a really good job though. Warned the residents, that distributed the bottled water, worked with the DNR. So, I mean, the residents really stepped up, so I really appreciate that. But at a village board meeting in September 2nd, 2025, a resident openly asked if the village dropped the ball, and our village president said no. And he pointed to the chlorination expansion that was already scheduled. I just want to apologize to the village. I was on the board at that time. I saw that report and I felt really bad about that. And I knew when we were told that wait 4 years, even though a problem existed, let's study it. We were really rolling the dice for 4 years. So I really just want to apologize to every one of you here. I'm sorry. And I will just tell you that if I get elected again, if that ever happens again, we ever get a letter like that, I will be screaming on top of my head that your health is the #1 priority. Again, I apologize.
Thank you. Would anybody else of the trustees like to answer?
Yeah. We did get a letter from the DNR saying you're trending up as far as the ammonia in the water, and we were given 3 years to find a solution. It took us 1.5 years, actually, and had to be done, and it was December 31st. But we had found a solution, and then the wheels started were put in motion to fix that. In the meantime, we have taken out a safe water loan that we had principal forgiveness on, thank goodness. We had rated high enough by the DNR to give us that principal forgiveness. And so there was no getting away. DNR, all the water samples that we take, that Public Works takes, and there's a ton of them, all go to the labs and all the results go to the DNR. The DNR keeps track of all the water samples. They haven't, okay, 1 minute. and need half an hour here. But anyway, the DNR keeps track of all that. They tell us what to test, and they, so we had, thank goodness, a solution in place. And unfortunately, we were 2 months off from getting all the new equipment activated. And I think we were all very fortunate that we had the solution beforehand. Otherwise, we would all be drinking bottled water still at this point.
Thank you, trustee Umas. Yes.
My name is Bill Shurios. I live at 505 Wiswell Drive here in Williams Bay. My question is for Rob Uvens. And the other water that's important to us is lake water. I understand you're on the Geneva Lakes Environmental Association. Can you comment on the quality of our lake water?
I can. Bill actually is a good friend of mine, and we talk a lot about things, but it was something that I mentioned to him, and I think he wants to know more about the GLA. The GLA has been in existence for 50 years. I represent Williams Bay on the board. Sparky Lundberg is the resident representative. And the lake, there are many different organizations, the Conservancy, the Water Alliance, the Geneva Lake Environmental Agency, all trying to take care of the lake here. And they all do a very good job, and that we're trying to work hand in hand. And we go from farm to farm to farm, and some of it is brand new, like the algae bloom that came up last year. But there's a new one that is actually not brand new, that is growing and getting bigger by the minute, that I wanted to talk to you about, or want to mention this to you. And it's the farms in Zenda and in Lyon, Lynn Township. So what they do is they have dug ponds on their fields with worms, and they put all the cow manure in there, and so we get liquid fertilizer from cow manure versus that gets sprayed on the farms. Are huge. They all have increased the cow population to thousands and thousands of cows. They don't, the old way was spread the manure out, spread the fertilizer out, dig it into the ground. This gets sprayed on the farmland. When it rains, it stays on there, the liquid manure, and then it flows into the lake. And it's a huge problem, and I wanted you to be aware of it. So everybody can step to the plate and say something, because this is more than what the organizations by themselves can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, in the back.
My name is Cynthia Rosenthal. I live at 440 Park Lane. My question is for the trustees. Steve, you had mentioned, I'm just going to quote you, is that you voted for and against urban development. So for all of you, how do you decide what and how to vote for development, and how much of resident feedback do you take into consideration voting for development in Williams Bay?
I'll start. Shouldn't I started last time? Shouldn't Lowell start?
Okay.
Well,
I'll comment. Thank you. Thank you,
the
Jim.
protocol, right?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Cynthia, it's a tough decision. Certainly, starting with citizen input is important, but there's as many pros and as many cons as there are people in the room usually. So, you know, I certainly listen to citizen input. I take account for it. But in the end, I was elected and was chosen to make a decision. So I have to make a choice based on what I think is in the best interest of the village. That includes all the residents, includes the village financial structure, includes the environment, includes the long-term obligations that we have. So in the end, I make a decision based on what I think is best for the village. When I say village, I mean the capital V, all the residents and all the other issues that go with it.
We do a lot of research. We get educated. There are a couple of developments that are about to get started, the 42 homes on Geneva Street and 50. For that one, the residents actually formed a committee. We had meetings in the Lions Clubhouse at the school, the residents. I live in Little Bay Meadows, and I was the only resident down there. They have helped us out a lot. I listened to them, I helped them. That same committee was still in place with the 5 homes that are going on Geneva Street. So there again, they have been of tremendous help. I worked with them. And
Has
so when
it impacted how
everybody,
you vote though?
and everybody's happy, I voted for all of them. So that you know, because that's what the input I got. And also I think that was the best decision for the village.
So I look at it from the standpoint of what is the resident feedback? What is best for the village? How does it impact the village? We go into, especially when you start looking at developers agreements, we go into closed session, and there's a lot of debate in those closed sessions, where we throw out ideas and requests that we're gonna take back to the developer to see what he will, what concessions he will make that also benefit the village. As an example, I voted for the 42 homes in Little Bay Meadows, I believe is the name of that. And I voted against the Canyon development that was the 5 homes. I voted against that because I didn't think it was in the best interest of the residents that back up to it. I did not think that the flood concessions that were being made were adequate enough and would solve a problem. And I think a lot of that came from feedback from the residents that are in that area and affected by it.
So the way I look at your question is, I'm a big believer in our master plan. And we do it every 10 years. And we bring in all the residents and all their input. And it tells us, and it shows on maps where future developments can go. What they're saying is further down the line. What I'm talking about is the people in this village are the ones that tell us through the master plan where they want development. They're telling you how to make it happen. Fine, I've done a lot of that too. My problem is that when you have a master plan like our last one, you turn it upside down on its head, and you, after 2 years, and you go in and go really against what our master plan is telling us, and then make a big change to it. I always advocated, go back to the people, slow down, let's not rush this, go back, redo the master plan, or have a referendum, let the people decide, oh, I'm fine with that. But I think that's that's where we got short-circuited, and I'm really concerned about that in the future, because it's gonna be very difficult, I think, if we do a downtown master plan, or we do another master plan. I think people they're gonna challenge the validity of those plans. I think they're gonna be nervous about them, because we've already done it already, we set a precedent. When we asked the village to come in, all of us, for almost 2 years and put a plan together, and then 2 years later, turn it upside down. So that's where I see your question.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dan Mason, 508 West Well. My question is about getting back to the water. What are your thoughts on the needs for water and sewer specifically? And one of them is that I had down there was what progress that we made recently. And I think, Rob, you addressed that with what they've done with the water plants and what you're doing with the water towers and whatnot. But what remains to be done? What's needed? And how do you think the village is able to pay for this? I'll direct it to Rob first, if that's all right, and then let everybody else answer.
We're gonna go through protocol. Did you ask all trustees or just Rob?
It's to all of you, but I
Because we started with Lowell last time.
This session is for all of you, and then at the end. we'll
Does he
have
get to
started
direct who
this.
starts first, or do we go through the
Go
protocol?
ahead.
Okay. So, several years ago, we did the project 67 North. I was on the streets and highways at that time. We were able to fund that without a big hotel project. Matter of fact, and I have the document here, last year, we put $3 million from the water and sewer fund into the general fund. We transferred it because we had monies in there, quite a bit of it. We've always been able as a village to pay for our infrastructure. We've never had a problem, and I think a lot of them who said they've been here 10 years or less, well, I've been here all my life, and I've seen leadership time and time again. We were able, when they got here, this village was running and functioning properly. So the one thing I'm just also concerned about is, when we're really hoping that 5, 10, 15 years from now, this topography project succeeds, doesn't change their business plans, their property, their value decreases, that could be a problem. Then the monies aren't gonna come into the TID district. So we really need to plan A and B in case those monies don't come in and that project doesn't come to fruition. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Russell?
You know, the infrastructure, there are areas within the village that are significantly old and aging. One of the discussions we have with the fire department is when you look at the area around the high school, the old high school and elementary school, some of the water lines in there are only 6 inches in diameter, which do not handle fire requirements. I think we have to look at this, and I think Rob has done a good job with it. You look at the clean water, safe water, loan programs that the village has been using to fund the infrastructure improvements. We look at the TID, especially TID District 1 that was developed, that will fund some of that infrastructure change. And I think whenever we look at development and a developer comes in, we have to challenge those developers to be contributing to the infrastructure costs that exist in the local area.
Okay. Got 2 minutes? Okay, Steve is on my water and sewer committee meeting. I just want to say first, there were no transfers between water and sewer funds. So that, you know,
I got the minutes of the document right here.
The money that comes in is the general fund.
There you go.
The general fund, all your taxes go to the general fund. It has nothing to do with the water and sewer. The water and sewer fund are standalone. So we have long-term projects that we have lined up on the water. I can't not go through all of it, but the main thing you gotta remember is we have 20 miles of water mains that are all 85 to 95 years old. They've all gotta be replaced. And if you just think quickly, $1 million per mile, this is where the $20 million comes in. So I went over, my opening statement already said on some of it, how we can finance this and ways that we have taken on it. There's 2 other ways. That would be a rate increase on your water and sewer, simplified or conventional. It cannot be done for another year because of the last rate increase. Most likely there will be a rate increase in 2029. There's no way that we cannot rate this. You cannot be in a position where we have to fix 15 to 20 miles of water mains all at the same time. That is not possible. So I think my time is almost up. Thank you.
Just a general comment on financing in terms of how we manage those things. One of the things that the finance committee just spent several meetings on, and Rob is on the finance committee with me as well as trustee Bartholomew, is a long-range financial plan. The village, at the best of my knowledge, has not had one. But we spent the time to say, okay, here's our base year, in other words, 2026. What do we think is going to happen across the next 5 years? Now, do I know exactly what's going to happen? No. But we have to make some educated assumptions about what both revenues and expenses are, and draw a bottom line on each year to say where do we stand, or where do we think we're going to stand? So we have some long-term financial plan that we can come to you with and say, here's where we are, here's what we think we need, and here's what we think we need to do, and we'll do that. So it's not an easy equation. Our total tax, our property tax revenue restricted by Act 10 had a whopping $18,000 increase last year. $18,000 didn't even pay for a portion of our employee benefit increase. So we do wrestle with those issues, and we've got a good finance committee that manages those questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the trustees and for audience questions. we will now, this concludes the 20 minutes for the Board of Trustees candidates questions. But we are going to go on to open session now for any of the candidates. We have 20 minutes and you can ask your question, however relevant it is. And we will have you come up and then the gentleman who just stood up and then Kathy. Okay. And okay, we have 4 hands up. Do I hear 5? We have 5 hands up. We have 6. Okay, any more than 6 questions? We have 20 minutes. Okay, so you have 2 minutes to answer the question.
30 seconds for each question.
30 seconds to ask your question, and then any candidate you wish to direct it to may answer. It's not going to be by protocol in order. So you may ask your question of any candidate, including the county supervisors. Okay.
Annalisa Prohuska, 109 Clover Street. At the last village board meeting, and my question is for the village board members and candidates. The last meeting, a referendum was mentioned for fire and EMT service, but also trustee Wright mentioned ways to cut back. And I'm wondering, is that decision made by committee or does each individual trustee member have a decision on that? I mean, I like the fact that you did have ways to cut back from, I think you said 3 different places at least, but how will that happen and how can we avoid a referendum? And also I'd like to comment.
The time is expired,
Okay,
so you can get your questions answered.
I will take first cut at that since it's a finance issue. And I was the one who made that presentation. But the finance committee will make recommendations to the village board, but in the end, it's a board decision. We're gonna have to make a decision pretty quickly in terms of what our plan is gonna be. The earliest we could have a referendum, if we were to have one, would be in November, which requires a decision by June. So we're gonna have to make a decision pretty quickly if we're gonna go down the referendum path. If not, then the what might we cut decisions will come in the fall when we have to do next year's budget. And that'll be a board decision. Committee recommendation and a board decision.
The committee chair takes the initiative. They work with staff, the village administrator, on a certain subject. And then when it gets to a point where they got it, whatever they want, they go to the committee members, discuss it with them, and then they vote on it. And then recommendations get made to either finance and eventually to the village board. So it goes through lots of discussions, all those things, before it finally gets decided. And we get legal input, there's all these things happening. So none of these things are taken lightly, and in particular referendums.
So that discussion of the board meeting was in its infancy.
Yeah.
It's strictly just starting a discussion. I think it will be at quite a few board meetings, so I would encourage people to come and voice their opinion on it. One of the things has been mentioned about phone numbers. All of our phone numbers are posted on the website. All of them are posted on business cards that are here at the village hall when we come to pay a bill. I get very few phone calls on my phone. I get a few emails, but feel free. You should reach out. You should voice your opinion, even if it is just a statement. Every one of those is read. I will tell you though, and I've mentioned this in some other meetings, that if you do put a 2 to all 6 or 7 members of the board, I tend to not respond because it could be an open meeting violation. So I prefer, if you're gonna do that, blind copy everybody else, put my name on it, and I'll respond to you. But this is only in the infancy, and I don't know how much time.
You're good.
Okay.
Keep going.
So when it comes to this discussion at the finance level, when we do budgets, every single board member participates in that budget process. You sit down with the people that fall within your committee. So as a good example, Ryan is sitting in the back. Ryan and I will sit down and go through a budget first to figure out what's going on. Then I look at the peers, the slip leases, the beach revenue, the expenses associated with maintaining all of that. And if we can find areas to either cut or we can find areas to delay, we put those in place. If it doesn't, affect something that is tantamount to getting done immediately. And believe me, just like in business, you have to make a decision on what are the high priorities and what are the lower priorities and what can be pushed off. And we do that, I think, fairly well on a regular basis.
So yes, your question really, your question was about referendums and how can we avoid one? And I will say that I'm a big proponent of referendums. I think that we should be coming to you. If we need more money, you should be making that decision. If the fire department needs more money, we go to a referendum. If the police need more money, we go to a referendum. If the school needs more money, we go to a referendum. I'm also a big believer that if you're gonna make a major change in the whole character and master plan process, we should go to a referendum. We should always go to you on those major issues. I do hear, I spent many years, I think I've been on the finance committee almost every time I've been on the board. And I hear this, that we can only get $18,000. Really what he's saying is that the village board members are saying they're unhappy, they can't tax you more than $18,000. That's what they're saying. Or they have to go to a referendum, which I think we should be going to a referendum. So I like it. If they can find ways to not go to a referendum with the fire department, better yet. I mean, I think that should be their job. Their job should be how not to go to a referendum. It should always be the last resort, but it should be all of us that are making that decision. So I'm a big referendum proponent.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Foster from 181 Conference Point Road. My question's for the trustees, and thank you all for serving, by the way. When it comes to tax revenue, it's important. So I'm curious on everyone's thoughts about the business district downtown. There's 3 at least vacant properties without tenants. Is there any way to, I realize they're private properties, is there any way to incentivize the owners of those properties to sell or make improvements? And also what role does the WBBA play a part in those improvements?
Are you asking that to me or?
To everything.
Well, I guess since you mentioned, I'll start. One of the things is you're right, it's privately owned property. The one thing the Business Association we've done is we've weaved a lot of really good relationships with the businesses. So we brought them together. Many a times I had all the owners sit together and try to figure out what we can and can't do. COVID did hit 4 or 5 years ago. One of the things that I was working on at the time was actually sitting them down and reversing it. Not having them come to us and say, hey, look at this, what do you think? Have us go to them and say, this is what we want to start the process. And maybe it can be modified and maybe it could be changed, but we really need to be proactive. And we really need to have a downtown master plan. I know Trustee Bartholomew is working on it. She picked up the ball from me, but that's really how we should, I mean, the old way of them walking in the door and saying, hey, what do you think of this? It just isn't working. And I think that's what they've always been saying to me the last several years. What does the village want? What do they want? They're like, they don't tell us what they really want. They say, come in with your scheme and your proposal. And it doesn't go anywhere. So that's what I'd like to see.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Comment?
Yeah, so I really don't have any feedback to you on the WBDA and how they work. They seldom come to a board meeting. I've been on the board for a number of years. I've never seen the WBDA here to tell us what's going on. There is an effort that was started back in 2024 by the Streets and the Highway Department. And actually, if you were at the board meeting just recently, I think we extended the agreement with Vanderwall and Associates. It was started, a contract was given to Vanderwall and Associates in 2024 to develop a downtown master plan. And for some reason it died back in September of 2024. And it has only now just recently been reactivated. And I think that's where the village can play an important role in figuring out what to do with the downtown. As Jim said, I would agree with him. It's private businesses, it's private property. We really can't dictate what gets done with it. But I think with the development of a downtown master plan and then a better working relationship between the board and the WBDA, I think things can take place and move forward.
I would only add to that, it's, one thing, a downtown master plan in terms of buildings and streetscape and sidewalks and decorations is one thing. An economic development plan says what kind of business can survive a winter in Williams Bay, is the real question. We need somebody to help us answer that question and then go try and find those kinds of businesses. And as far as incentives, I don't know that we have much incentive to offer other than a great summer. And if you got a business proposition that can survive the winter, more power to you, I think. But I think, you know, we can make the downtown business area more attractive, but we need to find out what kind of businesses can really survive in a village like Williams Bay and provide the kind of character that we want to see here.
I'd like to see things in a positive way. Where the kite room was, that grassy area was there for 20 years straight, nothing happened, except downtown was going downhill. Now we got the green grocer. I think there will be more development because that's the start. Hopefully, naturally, new development will come, new stores will be filled. And so I'm hopeful that will happen. Those are private properties and we do not have a whole lot of control about that. But I think it's a natural thing for here things to go upwards, and we will fill those stores hopefully and soon, and things will be better than what it was for the last 20 years.
Hey.
I'm Kathy Swift, 541 Free Church Drive. I'm a retired educator of 35 years, so my question has to do with the school because now I'm interested as a resident. I'd like to thank you for your time. I'm amazed at the time being a trustee takes, and I wish you all good luck in the election. What are your thoughts on the development of the old Williams Bay School property? I'd like you to address, this is for all of you, the additional property tax that will come from the 10 new homes, and to address the improvements to the water and sewer paid by the developer via the TID, and also to direct the question to about the alignment for the master plan. Thank you. Cool.
Yeah, in anticipation of that question, I did look at the master plan again this afternoon, although I was on the plan commission when we wrote the current master plan. And with respect to that property, the plan commission and the board endorsed that decision at that point in time, left the old school property as institutional in terms of future land use, and its current zoning is still public and institutional. So if somebody wants to develop something different on that property than something that falls within the public and institutional decision or description, they're gonna have to ask permission. They're gonna have to file an application to do that. It's gonna have to go to the plan commission and it's gonna have to go to the village board as well. But the master plan had an interesting discussion about something it called planned neighborhoods that envisioned a way to build new kinds of communities, new kinds of neighborhoods in the village. And one of the properties that discussed that was in fact the old school property, even though it left the zoning institutional. But that's one of the, I suppose all that's to say, we're a long ways from any kind of decisions. We don't even have an application from the current property owner to do anything with it, other than tear down what's there. So there's a lot of steps to go yet, but the comprehensive plan does talk about the property, but left its planned land use, future land use as institutional.
The first question was about the real estate. Williams Bay we are valued at $1.3 billion worth of real estate. So if we add 15 to $20 million to that, it's not gonna really upfront, in the beginning at least, not move the needle at all for us as far as that is concerned. What will make a difference is if we can set up a tax increment district, because all the water lines around that property are 95 years old. They're also 4-inch and 6-inch water mains. It cannot happen unless all that gets replaced. So either we pay the $3 million or it gets paid back by the developer technically to a tax increment district, which I would prefer that happens so it doesn't fall on us. Besides that, it's the developer has a plan, as Lowell just said. We are quite a ways from getting all of this approved.
Well, I think the other two trustees have kind of hit on the taxes, the financial aspect of the sewer and the water. I think social media has more information than we actually have had. I would not say that social media is usually accurate. But nothing, one of the things that I think as residents, we think the board controls all this stuff. If you want to tear a building down, you go to the building department, you pull a building permit and you tear it down. It doesn't hit the board level to make a decision on whether asbestos is going to get removed out of it, or you're going to remodel your house, or you're going to get a building permit or something. It only comes to the board through the planning commission when a variance is asked for, okay? So as of right now, nothing has come to the board level. We haven't seen a thing I have not seen a thing from the developer. I do not know, I've heard the rumor of 10 homes on it. I think the process has to be open hearing meetings. If we're gonna do a land use map change, we wanna have input as to what people want to see happen over there. And we need to explain what the developer is bringing to us.
And Adam did a good job explaining some of the things on social media that you don't have control over and that you do have control.
Well, one thing about a TID district is, I would say, I think I looked it up and it was like 90 or 90-some%, is used as a tool to attract developers in areas that otherwise wouldn't be built. And that is to say, hey, you come in, we'll set up this TID, you put in your infrastructure around it, and whatever, we'll pay you back as a way to get you to build. I don't know if this is the way that's going. We didn't do that on our last one. They didn't ask for it. But I would say that any developer that comes in there really should be paying for their own infrastructure and the infrastructure around it that needs to feed into it. So I'm always concerned about, it's not the spirit of the state statutes we're using the TID districts. We're not, unless we are doing that, unless a developer's coming in and saying, hey, I'm not going to develop here unless you set up a TID district and pay us back for what we're putting in for our infrastructure. But I don't know that. I hope that would be that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have 3 minutes left for this session. I did call upon 2 other people to come up. You have 30 seconds to ask your question. And
2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes divided
30
by.
seconds each.
Yeah.
Deal.
Gary Janda, 533 Free Church. What are your thoughts about the new Tourist Commission? And what do you think the makeup of that committee should be? Business owners, general public, and who should determine where the money should be spent?
I guess I'll go first. The one thing about a tourism commission is, it kind of makes sense if these monies in a few years do come in. The one thing our business association that does receive those room tax monies now, I don't think in the last couple of years when I heard that there was going to be all this money coming in, that we're not able to handle that vast amount of money. But really the state statutes prescribe who goes on those tourist commissions. And so you need somebody that's from the motel industry, obviously. You would hope there's business owners in there. And our business association is all business owners. So I'll yield since go ahead.
All right, I'm for the tourism commission. I believe it brings more transparency to the village, especially if we see a 10 to 12-fold increase in the room tax. So I see it moving forward. I see a role for obviously to statute, as Jim just mentioned, you have to have somebody from the hotel industry on it. You have to have business people on it. You have to have people from Williams Bay on it, in order to make sure that wherever the money is being spent is done to the benefit of the residents of Williams Bay. Thank you.
I will vote for a tourism commission. It needs proper oversight. Needs to work hand in hand with the village board. So their elected officials can keep an eye on things get spent. And this can work perfectly with the WBBA. I gave an example in the board meeting on the Edgewater Park, for example. We want a bench shell. The tourism commission can pay for it. The WBBA can then put the entertainment in it, that kind of a thing. And so I would be all for it.
And I will just endorse the things that my fellow candidates have said. I think the tourism commission is a good idea, and it will be structured in a manner that provides both transparency as well as accountability in terms of and visibility in terms of how the money is spent.
Thank you. Yeah. One person that I called upon before, and this will be our last question. Yes.
Overtime. That's you.
My name is 14 Grandview Avenue. Fire EMS has come up a couple times tonight, but I didn't hear a lot of specifics about some of these areas. So I was curious if we could talk a little bit about staffing and response times, maybe a little bit about the current fire station, as well as just stopgap measures for supporting the volume of growth that we have in the village. Those times. Thank you.
Response times with respect to EMS are reported every month. We see a report from the Village of Fontana Fire Department or EMS staff, and the response times have been in the 6 to 8 minute range. Responses by a full paramedic team. So I think they've more than met our expectations with respect to EMS services. Fire protection, on the other hand, the volunteer fire department came to us a few weeks ago and said, we need help, and we're in the process of trying to figure out what that is. We, in the meantime, have a stopgap measure that says that first, when you dial 911 and say, I've got a fire, that call goes to Walworth County. Walworth County now notifies the Village of Fontana and the town of Delavan, and they decide who's going to respond. So we do have immediate response to that from a professional fire staff while we figure out what we're going to do long term.
On the EMS, we have a paramedic on each ambulance, which is very important for the EMTs because the paramedic makes all the calls. We are adding that little temporary building so we can have overnight staffing here at Fontana. And that is important because we have an aging population here. And I said this before, if you have a heart attack, every minute reduces your chance for survival by 10 seconds. So 8 minutes, you're down 80%. So we will have overnight staffing here. As far as the fire department is concerned, that we are just, the chair is sitting right there, and we are starting conversation. We're gonna have to fix that, and we will. So I'm pretty sure that's gonna come out just right.
I can reiterate what trustees Wright and Lumens just said, but I won't because I agree with it. The EMS works well. We currently have fire coverage, as they mentioned. The volunteer fire department came to us, to the board, saying they needed help. So we do have plans in place to deal with that right now. But we're really at an early stage on this. It seems like a lot of things have hit us with an early stage in the last month. But right now, there are ongoing discussions between the village attorney and the attorney for the volunteer fire department. So I don't think we can really get into those conversations as to what's happening right now. I will only state that the volunteer fire department is extremely important to this village. It needs to be maintained, and we need to find a way to support them. And I think we will reach that decision fairly quickly.
No, I just want to say, I mean, this is an issue we've been talking about for like 20 years. I mean, we actually looked at fire departments 20 years ago where they can and can't go. You know, I think it works out really well. I mean, we talked to townships over the last 15, 20 years. We've had studies done where to put fire departments. So I mean, this has really been on our radar for quite a long time. And, fortunately, we do have a partnership with Montana. So, and I was all part of that agreement, and I was happy that that agreement went through. I mean, it's so complicated because nobody wants to give up their little fire department fiefdom, but eventually we're all being forced to work together. So I think it's gonna happen,
Thank you all for participating. Wish you all well, supervisors. And we are going to adjourn, but before we adjourn, just remember that the elections are going to occur on Tuesday, April 7th well, we're not sure of the location. It's to be determined. So you have to wait and see, but there will be notices coming out. The polls
will be at the Lions Field House.
you definitely are going
Yeah, it's
to,
always at the Lions Field House.
okay.
and early voting.
Okay, so it's going to be held at the Lions Field House. The polls will open at 7 and close at 8 p.m., 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I wish to thank all of the candidates for coming this evening. I wish to thank the Williams Bay Women's Civic League. I'm not going to use an acronym, and if any of you don't know what the acronyms were being tossed around up here were, don't be afraid to ask, because WBBA is the Williams Bay Business Association. What's a TIF? What's a TIF? There are all kinds of acronyms that we get used to when we work on these things, but if it's not known to you, don't hesitate to raise your hand and ask. Okay, so with that, we will adjourn, and I thank you all for coming.
Wait, hang on 1 second. There are a couple of wonderful people we want to thank. One of them is Tina, sitting back there. And Ryan, he's way back in the corner. With the electronics, that's always nowadays the hardest part. We're so appreciative of all of you coming. Thank you. I especially want to thank Ruth Ann Marava that did for the Civic League, put together the organization of all of this. And also a special thank you to Roberta for being here this evening and doing such a good job. And Joanne as my helper with our electronic timing devices. You too.
John,